Welcome to Manny's TV Talk, where we will talk about all of our favorite reality TV shows and news surrounding them. Grab a snack, a drink, and get comfortable because this starts now.
Hey guys, welcome in. Let's talk about the new episode of Love and Marriage Huntsville Season 6, Episode 12. Pretty boring episode, but a lot to talk about, if that makes sense. Let's begin. We pick up with Stormi, when this whole big blow up happened with the sister. So she's trying to fix the things with her aunt and her mom. Stormi tells Betty, go hug your sister. But yeah, her mom's pretty stubborn, so it doesn't happen. We then move on to Martell, and he's apparently going to therapy. He goes to a lady's house who is a therapist or counselor, and she's young, so my first thought was like, really? It had to be a lady therapist? But they talk about Martell's issues. He says he doesn't want to get so mad all the time. He just got into a fight with his mom because she didn't want to watch his kids. And things haven't really been great with his dad either. The therapist tells him he should reach out to his family members because he mentions he has a younger brother. That I don't really remember hearing anything about that, but that was that scene. We move on to Kimmi and Maurice go on a little date activity. You drink wine, but you also paint at the same time. And then Tisha and Marsau arrive, so it's the four of them. But there is something that Maurice is kind of mad about, and he brings it up in front of everyone. He's mad that Kimmi doesn't feel comfortable punishing Monster. I have said repeatedly why, they shouldn't even be calling your own son Monster. It's all in the name, and words have power. But since that's what they call him, I guess I have to call him that because I don't know his name. But Maurice says Kimmi should have no hesitation to reprimand him. And he says, you're acting like he's not your child by doing so. Well, I'm sorry to say this, but it isn't her son. The kid has a mom. So, of course, Kimmi is going to feel uncomfortable being so harsh and being so strict. But apparently this all started because one day Kimmi told Monster to clean his room and he didn't, so he doesn't really pay much attention to what she says. But that doesn't sound like it's a problem with Kimmi. It sounds like that's a problem with Monster. So Maurice doesn't even know how to address anything. And then Tisha brings up Monster's mom. Marsau says, Maurice, you should work more with the birth mom. So they decide to have a family meeting. Another thing I want to say is when I get married, I don't want to be antagonizing the woman that I marry. He does this way too much. He always trying to make Kimmi look like the bad guy. Anyway, the next scene is Martell meeting up with his brother. And my first thought was, man, don't you listen to no advice that Martell gives you. But you know what? It was actually a pretty cool scene. It looks like the brother was out in the streets for a while doing some not so great stuff, but he seems to be okay now. The brother says, I haven't seen Melody in a while. And it's funny because he brings up Mel's song that she did dissing Martell, and they have a laugh about that. But in all seriousness, I think Martell could definitely offer his brother advice. I mean, don't get me wrong. Maybe just not marriage advice, which he does do it because the guy is married. But the brother does mention that he would like to get into business or something to that nature. So I'm rooting for the guy. Okay, we then move on to this family meeting with Kimmi, Maurice, Monster, and Kiawa. They talk about this boot camp that Maurice has set up for him. But Kiawa says, there's really no point of having it if it doesn't work. If he's not doing the things he's supposed to be doing. The kid definitely didn't look like he wanted to be there. And maybe even more so because it was being filmed. So Maurice says, why isn't your face being receptive? He's like, what face would that even be? Then they ask Monster, do you have any ideas of what we could do for you to, be better? He says no. And they really get nowhere with this meeting. Kiawa says she would like to take Monster to dinner later to talk about more about it. So hopefully that would, be a little bit more productive. And then they let him go. They dismiss him. And then it's just the adults talking. Kiawa says something interesting. She says to Maurice, don't you think maybe he has feelings of not being around his mom? And Maurice says, yeah, because you babied him a lot. And she's like, okay, yeah, I did do a lot of stuff for him. I nurtured him for sure. But it's much more than that. And then, wow, you guys, Kimmi says something powerful. She says to Maurice, you want him to turn into a young man without giving him the proper rules. I said, yes, Kimmi, you hit it right in the nail, because you can't just tell a kid to do something without him actually seeing those things being done. Spending quality time is important, and they mention it, and Maurice says, I do spend quality time with him. I take him to school and I help him with his homework. And it's like, what? Is Maurice okay? Like, how could you be a whole lawyer and not understand something so simple? And Kiawa also says Maurice comes across really mad and aggressive, so maybe the kid doesn't really feel comfortable even sharing his feelings because of how Maurice will react. In the meantime, though, we see Courtney and Stormi in their car. They're, driving, and they talk about some of the issues that they're having with the business. She still feels bad for firing Junior, but this is helping her realize she should not hire any more family members from now on. Good thing she sees it now. I wish she would have seen it earlier, but they also talk about Lisa and Betty's blow up. Courtney says that this happens every time they see each other. And it sucks for Stormi because she wants a big, happy family, and she doesn't have it. Like, she says that she would love to have like a big family trip to Jamaica, and it's just not possible. And we don't know for sure, but I think that her mom Betty is the problem. But let's go back to the monster thing. Kiawa left to have dinner with him, just the two of them. And in that dinner, he says that he doesn't want to talk to anyone. And she says, well, that's not good. You need to talk to people, to talk about your feelings so that you just won't be bottling them up. But he does say something really nice, which is he loves seeing his mom much more often. And she even says, how much more often would you like to see me come? And he says, whatever fits on your agenda. And I was like, oh, this kid just clearly misses his mom. I mean, the relationship between a mom and his son is just really special. Then we see Maurice and Kimmi talking in their house, and Maurice wants to go to family therapy, but he wants everyone there, including Kimmi, but she doesn't think that she should be there, at least not the first few sessions. Kimmi says, you know what, last time we all had a meeting, you left early. And he deflects and says, well, maybe you and Kiawa should meet up more often. And Kimmi isn't too fond of that idea. And she says, no, like, we don't have to be relitigating the past because it's in the past. And Maurice says, oh, okay, I get it. What that means is that you're still not over it. And Kimmi got a little upset, and she starts to, call him out and to set him straight. And then he is such a gaslighter. He says to her, wow, what is this tone? She was definitely upset, but it's not like she was screaming or anything. So I feel like he was, yeah, that's the word. Him and his brother just love to gaslight their wives. And that was all for this episode. Like I said, not something super exciting, but there was definitely a lot to talk about with this situation with Maurice. I think that when it comes down to it, I think Maurice has good intentions. He wants his son to, have a bright future and be successful, whatever. But he sucks at actually doing it, and he can't execute it right. And all he does is put blame on Kimmi and on the mom, which is bizarre. So hopefully they do go to a therapist, and a therapist can actually tell Maurice, and hopefully Maurice doesn't try to gaslight the therapist. But you guys, that was this episode. We didn't see any of Melody in this episode, but we will next week, and we're gonna get some insight into the child custody case, and it's going to be really interesting to see this being played out in the cameras. So I can't wait for next week. I think Keke is also going to get into a little bit of a fight with Tisha. So I can't wait. But you guys, what did you think of this episode? What do you think of Maurice and his parenting and the way he executed this family meeting? Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section. Please don't forget to like, subscribe. I'll catch y'all next time. Have a great one. Bye.